folks, this is Ben back with you in the Midwest Model Shop. It is time for another episode of the long overdue Shop Talks video. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is just me talking. I don't have anything to show you in this video. Feel free to go ahead and put your device down or whatever and just listen. It's an audio thing. And what I do is I basically share thoughts I have about different types of things, all usually modeling related, and yeah, it's just a good kind of filler type of thing that I want to do, but all relevant to what's going on in the hobby and things like that. So today, I'm kind of going to do like a state of the union address, right, with the Midwest Model Shop. I've got the Enterprise here in front of me that I've been messing with. I'm working on the next episode of that. So, big things. We have really kicked into high gear producing resin parts, if you don't know, for sale. And thank you to everyone who's been to our website, themidwestmodelshop.com, and purchased everything that you've bought. We really, really do appreciate it. It makes it all worthwhile. Except it's worthwhile anyway on its own. Everything that we're doing, everything that we're building has the model builder in mind. I've had to come to some realizations or acceptances about who I am as a model builder. And the answer, the point of that, or the identification factor there, I guess, is I am a builder. I am not a perfectionist. I am not a rivet counter. I don't think it's a waste of time to build a model if it's not going to turn out 100% accurate to the real thing. That's not why I do it. When I'm done building the models, I enjoy looking at them, but I often struggle with, now what do I do? I mean, they go on display. I've sold most of the big ones that I've made. That's helpful. But I don't spend a lot of time, taking them in per se. I share them with people. I share them with you, obviously, here on the channel. But then, I'm ready for the next thing. And that's because I'm a model builder. With that in mind, I have a stash of kits, just like most people do. Except that the president of the modeling club I'm part of, he says I have the worst stash in the club. And I've seen some pictures of the stashes and of fellow club members, and I do have the worst stash. I have a handful of models compared to them, and the reason for that is I want to build all of them. I buy a model or acquire it with the intention of putting it together. And there's nothing wrong with you having a giant kit stash with hundreds and hundreds of models that drives your wife crazy. That's a thing. People like to buy and collect models, whether they're going to build them or not. And I respect that. That's part of, like, I'm a builder, maybe you're a model collector, right? Anyway, so back to me being a builder. All the resin 3D printed parts that we are producing, obviously, I think I've made it clear, are meant to save time. And my attitude recently towards my Titanic build, my personal Titanic build, has been changing because of the parts I've been making. Even if I wasn't selling them, I would still be making them for myself just to save so much time. Like, I think back on my client's build and how long it took and how much time and energy and effort went into individual segments of that Titanic. And it just took weeks to do certain things. And now I'm like, oh no, all I gotta do is take my time, cut out these parts that I've made, paint them up, and put them on. We're good to go. I mean, we're talking about, I can't, hundreds of hours turning into 10 hours worth of work. I mean, it's crazy how quickly you can put these things together, and they're super accurate. They look fantastic. They look just like the photo etch parts, and they save you time. Same with the Oerlikon cannons that I made in 1/200 scale. Those things are great. I'm going to see about making elevated 1/200 scale ones. And I definitely want to create a version with the Mark 14 gun sight on them for later, like post 1944 on ships that had those. I've only had one person really ask about it, but if there's more demand for that, we'll definitely work on it. I am in the process of designing 1/350th scale Oerlikon cannons to make those available. You can buy them on the internet today. They are out there. There are plenty of people who manufacture them. But I've had a lot of folks ask, hey, Ben, will you make them? And yes, the answer is yes, I'm trying to do that. It's interesting, the process, though. I don't know how much you folks know about this. When you design something to be 3D printed, Oerlikon cannon, for example, I get out, I hit the internet and get books and try and get as much research material together as I can to try and create something that's accurate, that's usable in the ships. And I want it to be something that everyone universally can use. And I don't want a niche thing that's like, well, if you just have this model in this configuration this year, you'd be interested in this gun. No, I want it to be like, you're building in Iowa, then you're going to need Oerlikon cannons. Here you go. And yes, real quick, people have asked about the 40 millimeter Bofors. I will make those too, because that's also another huge time saver. That's just going to take a while to get to. Anyway, I research, I put together the drawings and everything, and then I go ahead and I build it in a CAD program. And when you're done, you have, depending on what you felt like doing, you have a super accurate model, 3D model of the real thing. What I have learned is, sometimes that's a huge waste of time, especially if things are to scale. Because when you shrink it down to, for example, 1/200 scale, forget 1/350th, 1/200 scale, and then you print it on a 3D printer, assuming you have a printer, and I do, that is able to produce everything, there is a limit though, you'd be stunned at what you just cannot see anymore. It's just gone from the model. Because of that, I've learned, and this is saving me time, to omit certain details. You're just never ever going to see it. Even with a macro lens, you know, up close, you'll never see it. And if you did, and I could make it accurate, as soon as you painted it, it would disappear from the paint. So I'm constantly learning what to include and what not to include, and this is coming through a lot of trial and error and gaining the experience to learn that, hey, this little detail that I'm putting on these bolts, for example, I'm running around a base or something, you're never going to see them. I mean, they'll print, and if you zoom in with like a microscope, you can see like, oh yeah, hey, there it is. But you, with your naked eye and even magnification, are not going to notice it. So what I do then is, I have to sit down and ask myself, well, when I look at the real thing, what do I see? What things stand out to my eye? You know, with an Oerlikon cannon, it's the barrel, the blast shield, the sight, the little arms, and then you're going to have, obviously, the magazine clipped into the top. And maybe, you'll see the wheel on the side, and you'll see, you might see the bolts at the bottom. You might notice some hardware and bolts and things like that. That's basically it. So what I end up having to do is change the scale of specific objects in the 3D model so that when they print, when they're done printing, even though they are technically out of scale, you can kind of see it with your naked eye. If you use magnification, you'll definitely see it, and at a glance you'll be like, oh man, wow, I know it's got this and this and this there. And your mind doesn't go to, well, that's not scale correct. That's not. Your mind says, oh, it's there. This thing that I'm looking for, it's there. The support for the iron sight, on the Oerlikon, it's got these two things and the bar in the middle. Can I see that? Oh, I can see it. It's there. You're not down there saying, well, it was only 2 inches wide in real life, and so at this scale it should be, you're not doing that. So I've been having to learn how to make things. It's kind of like, I was telling my wife, it's like an algebra equation. The real thing equals X times the 1/200 scale version of it. And it's like, well, what is X? X is what you have to do to the model so that when you look at the 1/200 scale version, it appears to look just like the real thing, at 1:1 scale. And that has been a difficult process. And then I've also had to learn how to, you get into how do you print things to get the most detail out of them as possible, but then take the least amount of time as possible. The cranes for Titanic that we've made just recently here, they take 3 hours and 35 minutes to print. We're doing them at 3 micron layers. Layer heights are only 3 microns for each layer. And so that means that the taller they are in the build plate, the longer it takes to produce. You could print at 0.5 micron, which is another common layer height thickness, but what I've discovered is I lose a lot of the detail that you folks are paying for when I do that. So that has been it has been an interesting process. As far as people are going to ask what 3D program do I use Fusion 360. It is not free. It used to be. It's free for the first 30 days, and then after that you have to pay a monthly subscription. I taught myself how to use it over the course of a month last summer. I got to the point where I was dangerous and just kind of got better and better, and you start picking up little tricks and you start looking things up on YouTube. How do you do this? How do you do that? And it sticks with you because you get so involved with each of these models that pretty quickly I was able to become dangerous with it, I guess is a good way to put it. So that has been a good thing, and it's helped the Midwest Model Shop tremendously. I'm trying to make, even though the Midwest Model Shop's YouTube channel and website are the same thing, I separate them in my head. The YouTube channel is the YouTube channel, and the website, where you guys come and purchase things, which we, again, very much so appreciate, I view as a small business. And this is the first, it's a big deal for me. This is the first time in my life where I found that thing, if that makes sense to you. My whole life, I have been working in mostly small businesses, anywhere from 2 people up to, I think, 500 was the biggest small business I worked for. I think the U.S. government defines a small business as having less than 500 employees. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I know the company I worked for at the time, they did not qualify as like normal business size. They had less than the required number of employees. And none of it was mine. I was just working for them. But I've learned over the years how to run businesses. And I have mentors that I consult even today about certain types of things. I have all these philosophies and things I think about. And I have a business management degree. That's my bachelor's degree, is in business management. So I've never had, though, that thing, the thing that I was passionate about. It was never about, I just want to make money. You can do anything to make money. It was about, I want to find the thing that I like and enjoy, that I want to spend time and put my energy and efforts into, and run it like a business. And so for the first time ever, the Midwest Model Shop has really been that thing. I had a couple other small endeavors in my life that I tinkered with. They never really had the potential to become anything big. One of them was successful. I ran it for about a year or so, year and a half. And I just kind of, when I moved, it just stopped. And the reason it stopped is my old house, other than building models, I didn't have anything to do anymore. We'd remodeled it and had it set up the way that we wanted. And so I would just, when I was off work, I was just off work. And so to kill time, I had this hobby that I kind of turned into a small business. I had an Etsy shop that I ran out of. And that was fun. I learned a lot of things in there, especially about shipping. So, yeah, the Midwest Model Shop has evolved into, can I make this a successful small business, some legitimate side income? And at the same time, make it successful by providing things that the model builder needs, not wants. We all want model stuff, right? but that you actually need for the sake of saving time. I want to keep building models. I don't want to complete 3 in a lifetime, for example. And there's nothing wrong if that's what you want to do, if you move at a slow pace. That's just the way it goes sometimes. There's nothing you can do about it. But I like to clip along and get this build done so I can move on to the next one. And so, again, everything's about saving time with this. The Oerlikon cannons, I thought it was 7 pieces. I had a gentleman message me and say, no, I was wrong. It's 11 individual pieces of photo etch are in the Pontos detail set for the Missouri. You have to put 11 pieces of photo etch together to make one Oerlikon cannon, and then you need 42 of them for that kit. It's ridiculous, and it's very difficult. And so being able to 3D print them and have them ready to go, huge time saver right there. So running the business, we'll say that for now, has gone pretty well. Really haven't had any trouble since I switched over to the new website server that we're using. It's made the shipping situation a lot better. I haven't had too much trouble with folks not knowing where they live. I say that jokingly, but I had a guy, not at the Midwest Smile Shop, but at that older business through Etsy. He was over in the UK. He ordered a product from me. He paid for it. I boxed it up. I took the address that he provided, and I put it on the label, and I sent it to him. Off it went. Well, he messaged me like 2 days later and said, oh, really sorry. So I just moved from the southern part of England up into London, and I just wasn't thinking straight, and so I put down my house address from where I used to live at the top of the address, but then the city, London, and the code and zip code and all that is my new address. So it's a combination of the 2 addresses. Could you please, correct this? Basically is what he was saying. And I was like, no, dude, I don't know where you live. I rely on you to tell me where you live. I can't help if you don't know where you live. And I said, I'm sorry, man, that thing went in the mail, a couple days ago, and hopefully they'll get it to you, and, good luck. I don't know. And I don't know what happened to it. I never got the product back, and I never heard from him again, so hopefully it worked out. Shipping. Some interesting things about shipping. Some of you may already know this. When you go to package something up and you're going to send it to somebody, UPS, FedEx, the post office, whomever, they tell you that by default you need to package it so that it will survive at a minimum a 1-foot fall. About this high. It's going to fall. And that's because they're little sorting conveyor systems. At some point there's going to be your package will be on one conveyor, and it's going to need to go off onto a chute or another conveyor adjacent to it, and then this little arm, it pushes it off, and it falls a foot. It's a little disheartening when you're shipping very fragile resin pieces, but knock on wood, no one has said that their parts have shown up damaged yet. But we do have to package them, or we try to package them so that they'll survive. We had to do extra stuff for the crane sets. And, I went to the post office. They don't even try to hide it, right? I go to the post office. I hand the guy all these boxes. He scans them, and he turns around, and he just flips them about 3 feet through the air into a bin. That's their very first. They're right in front of me. He's not even trying to be gentle with them. So hopefully they have everything we send you guys shows up okay. All the feedback I've received is that they show up just fine and not damaged. What does show up damaged, though, is if we did have a gentleman who, he messed up his address, not by much. I think he just moved, and the postman did him no favors. His house number was off by 1, and they're like, no such address, return. I got that thing back messed up. It goes to you guys okay. If it's got to be shipped back, it had holes in the box, it had clearly been smashed, and the contents was junk. When it came back. So, yeah, shipping can be interesting. That's something I thought I'd share there. So, moving forward, we have several things in the pipes. Like I already mentioned, we're working on the 1/350th Oerlikon cannons. That I have made them. So a quick comment about that. Several people have said, well, can't you just scale down the 1/200 scales and print them in 1/350th scale? Well, of course I can scale them down, and I did. That's how I started off. The problem is, at that size, certain details just disappear. They're not printable. The printer's resolution and the resin is outside of what's possible. And then if it does print it, and I'm talking about, I have details that print on some of the things I try that are like, I'm sure a hair on your head is thicker. I could still see them. They are teeny, teeny, tiny microns thick worth of resin. As soon as I put them in the washing solution, which breaks down resin at its base layer, they break down and they disappear. They're gone forever. You don't see the detail anymore. So the 1/350th stuff, I start off by shrinking it down and then beefing up all of the key details and basically oversizing them on the model so that when they print, you end up with something that you can see and it still looks good and still looks to scale. I had a fairly successful test print the other day, but certain things didn't work out the way that they need to, so I'm going to have to go back in the program and make some modifications to them. And then I'll have to do another test print. I will show you this real quick here. I do a lot of test prints. This box is full of Titanic crane sets that did not make the cut. Like, tons and tons and tons of crane sets are in here. I was experimenting heavily with the supports that go on them, different angles that go on them, the sizes of everything had to be changed a whole bunch, and then can I get it to print correctly so that it worked? I mean, a lot of effort and time went into developing these things. Actually, there's probably more bad prints in that box right there than we have sold. And we have sold a lot of prints to everyone, but I think there's more sets in that box that didn't make the cut than we've sold so far. So yeah, sometimes development takes a long time. And I'm a one-man show here, so I have looked into trying to subcontract out some of the 3D work that I need done. The one gentleman that I kind of work, you know, people, the professionals, like on, I think is it Fiverr? I think it's called Fiverr. You could get some people there to do stuff. You know, they're professional, but they charge a professional wage, and they should. There's nothing wrong with that, but I have to make a return. I can't just go negative on what I have them make. So some of the things that I wanted to subcontract out, for example, people, I want to make 1/200 scale sailors. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because basically I only know how to do hard surface modeling right now. I don't know how to do people and soft things, but they were going to charge like $50 per individual and three poses that I set up. And it's like, you do realize these are like gonna be 3 millimeters tall, and they don't require that. You just need kind of the blobby shape of a human. And they're like, yeah, we know. And then they go on and on about all their qualifications and everything. And so that is what you're paying for, right? But since, like I just said, they're just kind of blobby shapes of a person. They're not, you know, you don't need whiskers or anything. I need to learn how to model them myself, and so eventually we will get there, and I'll go ahead and do that. Pontos, for those of you who know, still a catastrophe. About a week after I put that video out with the Enterprise stating that they just basically ghosted me for 3 months, I was contacted by 2 individuals who said out of the blue Pontos emailed them and offered to help them with what do you need. And I was the third person. They emailed me. And the email said, hello, did you receive your photo etch yet? If not, maybe I can try to send it again. That's all it said. And I replied back with, no, I have not received it. Do you have a tracking number for them? Did you do anything? And I got nothing. And a week later, I emailed back and said, hey, are you sending the sheets? Anything? Just, no luck. So, and I don't know if I shared this last video. I reached out to Nigel at Nigel's Modeling Bench. He told me that the craziest thing that they ever did to him was eventually they mailed him a package that he had ordered, and in that package came a whole set for like a 1/350th scale photo etch set for another ship that he did not order. So he emailed them and said, what's this about? And they said, yeah, well, you live in the UK, and the guy who actually ordered that, he lives in the UK too, so could you go ahead and send that to him, please? We just, put it all together. And it's like, come on, people. So, yeah, Pontos has that. I think they emailed me and those other folks out of response, I'm hoping, to the video, but until you heard them in their pocketbook, and I can't personally, I'm not going to make a dent. But if the community just says, hey, we're not going to buy your stuff, sorry, because it's super expensive, it's super nice, but if you're not going to send me everything, and you end up having to scratch build parts of your model or, trying to make it work, that's not helpful. It's not, you're not getting anywhere, especially when you've got KA out there and they have comparable sets that are extremely good, and you have Edard, who does a really nice job, I think, too. And I like their a la carte stuff. Yeah, those things are all, those are better alternatives. And I think I hope as a community we can all continue to just kind of blacklist Pontos for a while here and, yeah, go from there. Another thing I want to mention real quick, the 1/200 scale Fletcher. 2 models that are available. If you looked at the Trumpeter's model magazine for the year, they've got a picture of it in there. No box art yet, just a stock photo. And if you go to squadron.com and a couple other places, they've got pre-order up available on their website. I have some knowledge about this whole project. That's what I'm going to say about it. And I reached out to an individual at Trumpeter, I'll say that much about it, and said, what's going on here? And he said, I showed him the picture from Squadron, pre-order. I checked the thing too. Please email me when this is in stock. But I sent my Trumpeter contact this information, and he was like, I have no idea what this is about because we don't have a model ready of the destroyer yet. So he reached out to some of his folks, and apparently what happened was someone in the U.S. saw that Trumpeter put it in their magazine, so they just went ahead and made a default listing for it on their website. And then someone else saw that listing, I don't know if it was Squadron and whoever else, and they, well, if they're getting it, we are too, so we're gonna make a pre-order thing on our website too. So yeah, there's no model. There's no model yet, but hopefully there will be soon. We'll see. Fingers crossed. So anyway, there's a bit of news there. And then, yeah, I think that's kind of it for right now. And I don't want to sound like I'm rambling on too much, but the Midwest Model Shop's going well. We are stocking shipping material and boxes, and we've streamlined our system here. We've moved a computer and a printer into the shop over here. I have our printers going. I have 2 printers going over here. We ordered a 3rd printer because while these run basically all the time, I have to stop one of them from producing stuff that I do sell to you folks to do a test print. And that takes hours, and then the test print does or doesn't work out. And in the meantime, I've produced nothing to make available to all of you. The other comment I want to make, because I do get this a lot, everything as far as resin parts goes, we try to keep in stock, ready to sell. There's nothing that we've made 3D printed wise that we're like, we're going to do a run of 50 and we're never selling them again. That is not our goal. The goal is to produce a variety of resin 3D printed parts that all modelers need all the time, period, if they're building a model. For example, the Orla King cannons. As long as there's 1/200 scale American warships, from World War II, available to be built. Someone out there will need a 1/200 scale Oerlikon cannon, and that is why we're making them. If you see that something's out of stock on the website, that shouldn't be for more than a few days, unless I'm on vacation, right, and they sell out the day before. The crane sets sold out after 3 days, and then, like I said, they take 3.5 hours a piece to print. We got some back in stock and have 2 more sets there, and we'll update the inventory as we go. So if you see something's out of stock, please be patient, and we'll eventually get it back into stock. So I think that's enough for now. Feel free to leave comments, questions down below. Thank you to those who've gone to the website to reach out to me. Click contact us and fill out the little thing right there. We get the email like that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you all like and subscribe if you haven't. And we have more things coming. We are developing more projects here at the Midwest Model Shop, and I'm excited about 2024 as a year. And we're going to finish the Enterprise and get back onto our Titanic, which should be pretty awesome. All right, folks, we'll see you next time.